record. Yes, cool. So hello everyone, welcome to Internship Brand Architecture Onboarding Space. So I believe you have been heard about this project for a while, like from IC itself, and even actually before that, like closing spaces with some of MC 1920, we already start this kind of conversation regarding in the future, how VPP is going to be put it under the GTA GTE portfolio. Is it going to be an individual program, like we are managing very differently, like keep working on the way that we are currently working on right now, or we are going to put it under the internship program. So today's space is helping us to understand what is our global directions, and then for you to also have kind of a sense in the mind that later when you move to replanning, what are the key areas that you can also start to consider to conclude it in your replan. Cool. So your host today, yeah, I'm Connie. I think everyone of you knows me, and I'm also coming from Asia Pacific. Last year, I was in Serafina's position, and I was very happy to start with my, this is actually my last conferences, and I'm very happy to start with Asia Pacific. So I feel more comfortable to, start this session update. So regarding for the objective itself, we want you to understand what is the final decisions that we are going to make for the brand architecture for overall internship program. And then again, let you to be aware about what is the future directions and also changes are needed. And perhaps we can also, if we have time, we can also have the co-discussion on change management. But if we don't, we also provide you a tool where you can actually put all of your thoughts and inputs. So next, the AI team, they can consider all of these things into the planning process. So important disclaimer, first of all, brand architecture is made, okay? But however, regarding the details, like what are the areas that needs to be changed under this project, and also what will be the specific timeline, next the AI team will keep you updated, because they are also, right now, we are also doing the transition process. And then after receiving your inputs, we first time collect your input from Soga. I'm not so sure if you remember, we were asking you about this question. And then second time, it's now. So we are also going to collect your input regarding what are the areas that needs to be considered into the changes, and then they will finalize based on all of your inputs. And please do not share this everything, like even one piece of it, don't share with network until you get a further update from next AI team. Yeah, and you will not get performance update from this space, and it's not a capacity building. So no matter which position you are, I will hope that you are going to think product for overall internship portfolio. And luckily, we have most of people are very fitting into today's space, like you are managing all of the programs together. So I believe you are going to also contribute better inputs as well. So why are we having this space today? To understand how we can manage internship program operation in a more efficient way as an organization. So I believe this last year, like starting from how you started our term, it's very challenging, right? Like you perhaps are managing, how many programs you are managing right now, by the way? You can just simply type. For me, I'm somehow be considered I'm managing 4 programs. I have Poly Remotes under me, GTA, GTE, VPP, and also new ERD. So it's like, oh, like sometimes I feel very bad, like I cannot manage it well, like like very well, like very concentrate on certain program. So I believe, okay, Melly is managing 3. How was it for you? I believe we are perhaps having the similar, so like somehow it's a similar program, but somehow it's different. I'm not so sure. Do you think so? And then for me, it's like, why are we making things so complicated? Like it can be the same thing. Like it's all internship program. It can go through the matching process like the same. But why we are managing, like challenging ourselves by ourselves? So that's the thing that I want you to also reconsider about the way that we are currently doing operation and how we can really make a more efficient way, as right now the situation is the membership in our organization is keep decreasing, right? And then we are having the tendency to having less people in our organization, but we are having more programs. So how we can manage it well, more efficient way, this is the biggest question that at least in my year trying to answer. So now let's start with a little bit context review to understand what happened in the past. So starting from the year 14-15, they had a simple project, like piloting project, like how we are starting with VPP. and it was called Simple GIP. It was very cute name. And then it becomes to evolve as a global entrepreneur. So you can see this was the results they were having. And then back to that year, because everything moved very smoothly, everything moved very fast. So people don't really think about, what will be the implications if we are moving this program, like a short durations, or like how we are going to divide in the market. Like we didn't think about that. So we just started the GE. So what happens? You might be aware about this GT change management stuff and business model review, right? So we forgot that GE was innovated to create another channel to increase our results in professional internships, not just take resources from one program to one another. So and then also another thing is about this GE program, the business model itself, it was not carefully verified. Like they just put it as a global program because all of the realization numbers were achieved, but we never look into the profitability data or those kind of financial data to understand whether the business model itself is going to be successful or not. So it now later, like few years later, it becomes a challenge or troubles for overall the portfolio of the global internship, right? Because a lot of people, like the OGX itself, they are prioritizing OGE, and then IC itself, more people are preferred IGT, which is longer durations, and then so on. So it makes the SND itself is also very misaligned, and people are very confused about what is the difference between this, and then ICX is facing the challenges in selling it, right? So the scope of the project, like they were trying to understand what is like we either run one product or combine it and so on. It was what happened in the past. And what was the conclusions from the research, which is still, I found it very relevant for today's when we are going to make similar decisions, like trying to launch this VPP to a global program. It says that rather than the scale of company, users attracted more to the job descriptions and the benefits that opportunity provides, which means they don't care about this is belongs to GE or GT. They don't care about, hey, Isaac saying that, but this is a different program. Like for them, it's an internship experience. And then what they care is job descriptions and benefits. So this is something that we really need to understand, that it's okay for us to understand what's the difference between different programs, but somehow we need to make it easy for customers to understand. So now we have a, so in the past, you remember this meme, right? Like when GE and GTA was launched, people, and then GTA, like GE GT becomes to GTA GT, people are making fun of like, what is the difference between like, making a program different logos. But I think there's more meaning behind of these changes, because we want to make it at least more specific towards our customers to understand, okay, global talent is more about business administrations and also internship itself, and global teachers for teaching. I think this is still making sense. However, it becomes a little bit complicated after we start the pandemic, and we are doing a lot of amazing innovations. So there's part remote, and there's a VPP, and Pookies without a brand name so far. Yeah, but so what happened now? If we already relook all of the things that happened in the past, right? So right now we are having quite great achievements. Like we are having 300 something opportunities, 89 approvals, 57 realizations with 44 entities, and then half of them are new entities. So you can consider like 57 realization with 20 something entities. So now it becomes, again, this decision. Don't you think it's a very, very similar process that we are going through as an organization, right? So there are a lot of lessons that we can learn from the past. And this is also why that this time I want to take this process in a more smooth way, in a more careful way. So the first lesson is we need to manage our portfolio simple and clear for customers and members to understand instead of confusing them. Second, we need to manage our change management process in a long-term way with the global structure together. I believe so far, the only a lot of successful change management process, or the one that is failed, the reason that it is failed is always because there is a new leaders coming and then telling them, hey, this is what we are going to change. and then network doesn't follow because they don't believe that needs to be changed, or they don't see the relevance of it needs to be changed. And then people are not planning it together. Like AI bring you another plan, and the entity is bring another plan, and everyone is doing somehow similar things, but somehow different things. So it never moves together. So that's why we want you to be onboarded even before the next team goes to planning, and then let you to be aware about the global direction, so you can also contribute and plan with us. So in IC 2021, I believe you also share this excitement with me that it's going to continue. This is decided and also get proposed to become a global program, right? And then we were trying to understand what are the root causes. Like this was already the struggles that we have been already faced for 1 semester. And then that was the answer, that back to then, we believe it's going to be somehow solve the network with the network, but perhaps after the research, you will also see it's more than that. Like if we really want to solve this issue, we cannot just solve it in 1 semester, in few months. It needs more process and also efforts to make the changes to be more smoothly happen. So why do we choose to do research about our brand architecture? So let's start with understanding what is brand architecture itself. So anyone has actually studied like brand or public relations or marketing itself? Like, okay, I see Van. Do you want to share with us like what's your understanding about brand architecture?
So honestly, I'm studying public relations, and the brand architectures is some kind of a ecosystem, I think, because it's like under Isaac, what people understand about our product, and it is like a tree. I think when I imagine in my head, it's just like Isaac, and then we have some kind of the link below, and for that link and also key point, the people will understand like that. Yeah.
Very great. Thank you so much. And also I love your effects. Cool. Yes, exactly. So that's actually communicated like our portfolios, like basically all of the programs, and then how we want to separate them, because somehow like different programs, for example, let's take Apple, like all of them are I something, right? I something, but they are different. They are in different product line, or some let's say Unilever, like they are using the endorsed brand, like although they are having very, very different brand logos and products and so on, but then they are having Unilever as a back, like strong supporting system for them. So there are different ways, but in general, the brand architecture itself, it's actually guiding us to helping us to think how we can maximize the resources. Like if you think about how Isaac is separating, like designing the HR structure itself, it's all coming from this, because why we are having a product people for different programs, it's also because of the brand architectures and portfolios that we are trying to prioritize. So inside of this brand architecture, you can see a lot of different things like value propositions, segmentations, pillars, benefits, portfolio offerings, and so on. But of course, we cannot, just simply start with everything and then we are trying to answer every single thing in our turn. So we started with one clear objective is, at least in our year, we should be able to provide clarity of brand identities for members to clearly understand what's the difference between different opportunities. And then later on, it can helping us to understand what are the resources to be allocated for it, like how many members we should be allocating for VPP, how many members we should be allocating for GTA, GT, and so on. And then later on, how does those kind of synergy and more efficiencies to make it operation to be more efficiently. And then also later on, we can, in the end, we can envision itself, it can has the growth opportunities, right? So a successful brand architecture or brand strategy itself should be guiding a program to be able to grow in a better way, because brand itself connects the customers with the brand essence, which is our product experience. And then they come to more into the funnel, and then the linkage and also the connection becomes stronger and stronger. And in the end, it should be guiding the program to grow. So there's also another different things. What are the answers that we are looking for from the brand architecture itself? Like in the beginning, we're just trying to understand what should this brand, which is VPP, to be called. But then later on, there is another questions that I believe it's going to be answered in next year about the brand portfolio itself. Like when we talk about the portfolio itself, it covers like business model, the customer experiences, and so on. So you can see maybe later somehow the operation flow or customer experiences, like especially the standard itself. Like right now, party remote has a different name with the VPP standards, right? So all of those kind of small single details, it will be answered after we clarify the brand architecture. So why are we here and how does it going to be affect different department strategy? And this is a simple development of the brand architecture and how it's going to be connected with different. So you will start it with organization and roadmap to understand, okay, the ending goal for us right now, heading to the ISO 2025, is we want to diversify the ISO experiences. We want to make leadership experiences to be able to develop in other contexts. And then it started with the brand strategy and it connected with the marketing strategy and every single product strategy and so on. So that's why we started with brand architecture. We make the scope of the project to be a little bit smaller, and then now it started with other changes with other strategies. So that's I just want you to understand the overall logic that when we are choosing this, and then also why it takes very long time for us to understand what are the differences it's going to be happen in other departments as well. So what we can do, this was what I presented in IC, right? And this timeline is still going to be suggested into the next year. So you can have a bit sensing, like ideally, we want to have all of those kind of like, you know, to be ready externally for before IC 2022. And then ideally, we want to start this change management preparation and implementation from February 2022. So this is the timeline that you can look up right now, but again, like I cannot guarantee you whether based on current financial situation, because if we want to have the platform integration, it requires a lot of money. So right now we are doing the budget proposal to understand how much it's going to be costed to integrate the VPP into the platform. And then the next team is going to decide whether they are going to follow this timeline or not. So what's my job? I'm doing the researches for understanding different types of the brand architecture to understand what's going to be more efficient and making more sense for ISIC to apply for now. So this was our two scenarios that was scoped out. One is that we are going to follow the branded house, which is like we are just having the features under the global talent, like there's hybrid, remote, and abroad. And then the other types of the architecture is what we are exactly doing right now. And then we know how it feels. For me, it's like, it's a little bit hard to manage, but we can still manage. So it's another side of the scenario. So we also analyzed what is the pros and also cons, which you can check later after this session because we don't have much time. But in general, you can see that the major differences between the branded house, which is having the feature itself, is to be more efficient, easier, and also simple to be evolved. Because it doesn't really require a lot of marketing investment, especially creating a new brand and launch a new brand. And regarding for this one, of course, it still have its pros and cons. Like right now, because for example, let's say GTA have a crisis right now, then VPP is not going to be affected because the name itself is not going to be reported or mentioned, right, by any news. So it's going to be more safe. And also it's going to have a more specific reach, like because we know that somehow it's still having a little bit different from the customers that we are approaching right now than the physical ones. So it actually both of them have its pros and cons. So what is inside of the process? These slides, you can read it later, and it's not a space. We only have 30 minutes, so it's not a space for you to check everything. So what we did is in AI team, different department, we analyze for different areas, and then they are going to listing down what are the areas that needs to be changed. So this is what happened in HR in general. HR is reporting that first of all, we need to make the operational process to be more simple and lean because they are challenging us like with the number of the people that we are having. Is it going to be making sense to make the process or operational process to be very, very different? And then second is how we can actually suggest the local GTE structure in a more efficient way and really to improve the productivity and also efficiencies. And then there are a lot of other consideration factors, especially for the implementation timeline, because the recruitment timeline and also with the timeline that we usually bring the changes, like how your MC entities bring the changes, it's maybe a little bit different. So that's why we need to at least plan right now, like 2 years ahead, if you really want to bring certain LC structures changes to support your future growth of the program. And then also like job description might be different, because right now you can see in VPP or parts remote, we have more, let's say, virtual leading spaces, right? Those kind of JDs is not that emphasized a lot in the physical one. So the job description might be a little bit different, and also how the matching process and so on, it will be a little bit different as well. And regarding for the marketing, they also analyze what is the different scenarios, market segmentations, strategies, and also other consideration factors. So you can also bring this kind of outputs with your marketing to discuss, if we are going to make these kind of changes, what do we need to consider, anything else, or there's even more. And regarding for the platform VPP scenarios, we are having like 3. So for regarding the first one is keep it different, like having a landing pages. Scenario 2 is we are going to have a VPP as a filter for customer to choose. And then for scenario 3 is going to be like a customer face, it's going to be a different program. No, just a filter. But internally, when we are managing on Expa, it's going to be a different program, because we have different leadership assessment, we have different standards itself, right? So that's the different scenarios that we are going through. And then when we were analyzing the pricing itself, what we realized is most of the time, like especially for entities like performing in both GTA, GTE, incoming VPP and so on, it's that VPP is, we are charging 20% less, 20% less than the normal price we are charging for the GTA. But then those 20%, right now what we haven't been identified with the entity is that whether those are administration fees, like for example, legal fees and so on, or you are just to make it lower. So it's important for us later on when we rethink about the pricing strategies, and for us to understand what's going to be the difference when we are going to sell the VPP and GTA, how you can communicate towards our partners in a more effective way. So this is also for the OVPP, and this is something interesting that compare with IVPP, more entities from OVPP, they are actually charging the same price from customers, which we cannot so sure, but I think this somehow give us the clarity on it's possible and it's okay that from customer side, they are willing to pay the same amount of money for the VPP, but OVPP, but maybe for partner side, they will still prefer to have a lower prices. But this is also something that I want you to reconsider and then think about it, whether the current pricing is making sense or not, like how you are package it. So in the end, the decisions that we made is going to be following this one because it's more simple. But important disclaimer here is that the hybrid remote abroad will be confirmed after conducting with testing with users, because we are not so sure whether this is easy for people to understand and imagine what is this experiences. But basically, what I want to also share with you is this is how linking they are doing it, and this is going to how it's going to be shown with our customers in the future as well. Like instead of putting like GTA, GVP, blah, 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 we are just going to have a filter on YOP telling them this is going to be like on-site, hybrid, or remote. So that's how we are taking our name. And we think that because other like linking is a big platform and people understand it, then of course they are going to understand ours as well. So now there are a lot of areas like after this brand architecture and then making a VPP into a global program, right? And because if we're reflecting the last 5 years, and then if we see all of the changes, what happens between GE, GT, and now GTA, GTE, and now having one more VPP and partly remote, we realize a lot of things need to be changes. Like when we are going to bring a small change, like we just wanted to make a global program, or we just, in the beginning, the scope was just to create a brand for VPP. And then we realized, a lot of things actually needs to be changed together. So that's why for sure, perhaps it's not everything, but again, like before we actually make it into every single details for different departments for them to also support these changes, we also want you to also go through together with us. So unfortunately, we don't have enough time planned for these spaces, but you can provide your inputs before November 24th. And then inside of this Miro box, you can see the exact descriptions about each single thing that's proposed by AI. And then you can also try to have a discussion and so on with your MC mates to think about what are the other areas that needs to be changed. Okay, so we really want you to pay attention on this process, because we don't want the year that we have been gone through, that we are bring a new program and then everything, like you are asking me, hey Connie, what is the program policy? Sorry, I don't know, I just hand over this program. Like that's how we started. And then yeah, like how about the pricing, and how about the platform, like every single thing, like do we going to consider VPP into the planning? Do we have that? Like if we don't plan it right now, you or your successor is going to face a similar situation that we are having. Like a lot of things will be pop up during the process because we didn't foresee this also going to related to be from these changes. Like for example, maybe later if you don't plan this, when your OD or your TM is going to provide a planning template or replanning template, and then they realize that, oh, the goal setting we didn't collect for VPP. And that's what happened actually. Or the pricing, okay, the finance chart account, like they never collect the price for VPP and so on. And then so when we try to analyze what is the profitability for VPP, we realize, oh, we didn't align this. So that's important for you to start it to plan it right now. And then I believe that with the several months experiences in MT already, you will have enough knowledges and at least trying to understand with each different department what are the key things that we need to consider. And of course, later on, I will support my successors to prioritize like what are the key things they have to do, like from AI side, and what are the things that we think it can be conducted by MC side, and what are the things that like it needs to be standardized by globally everyone that needs to be following the same. So I hope this time we can learn from the lessons from how we are bring everything, like the changes in the internship program itself, and to make it more simple. So of course, maybe towards customer, like remember the meme that we see in the beginning, right? Maybe for most of the members and customer, the only changes they see is we are changing a product logo and so on. But I also want you to understand, even those small changes behind of it, there's a lot of effort. Yeah. So how are we adapting into the new normal? That's something that I want you to also think about it, like how this time we want to make a changes differently, or are we going to just saying that yeah, VPP is going to be a filter, and then we never thought about other stuff. And then I know that a lot of you might still have the question, are we still developing the leadership in the remote context? And again, like I still want to remind you this beautiful story, and this is the most beautiful stories that I have ever seen in this VPP, that there are so many people are connected virtually. And then there's an EP is sharing these long words in the Facebook. And I want you to remember that even though maybe they are not directly talking about the leadership itself, but you know that that's the meaning of leadership, right? They are challenging themselves. They are jumping out of their comfort zone. They are trying to understand different cultures. And then they also feel supported from Isaac, and they are satisfied with the experiences from Isaac itself. As long as they are learning the things, and they are actually try something differently with their life, I think that's leadership. And also, I want you to keep in mind, it is just different experience. It doesn't mean that, like, first of all, the remote working experience is needed under the new normal. Like yesterday, I have a conversation with an alumni. He was MCP 1314. He is working in Salesforce Toronto right now. And then he was telling me that, like, he really missed the time that people are seeing each other face to face. And then it's just different. Like, when you are working remotely, like even the feeling that you are managing a meeting, or whether you feel passionate about your work or anything, like it's just different. But again, like a remote working experience is needed, because right now, nowadays, young people like us, we need to understand how to manage ourselves under remote working context. We feel really like it's a challenging experience for us to keep our productivity under remote working context. And those kind of life lessons is something that we need to help young people to actually achieve it. Also, it doesn't mean that which one is better or worse. Like, there's sometimes I feel like we are trying to make things black or white, but it doesn't mean that like it doesn't mean that, okay, we are making a VPP to a global program, and which means everyone needs to run it, or like under the global internship portfolio, then which means we need to run it, we need to provide all of the experiences towards our customers, and then we don't consider our entity's capacity, and we don't even know what our customers want from our market. So it's important to keep it ourselves, to be reminded that it's more important for us to focus on the process of supporting young people to find the right global internship opportunities that they need it for now. It's our priority, which I think a lot of people in here, you are doing great job, because I know that you are prioritize the opportunities and portfolios that in your market according to your entity context, which is great. But I still want to keep in mind that the beautiful thing about ISEC and what makes ISECers to grow is also this process. So, and then in the end, I just want to say thank you so much, Asia Pacific, in leading this innovation process for global internship programs. And I'm very happy to share this journey with you. Yeah, this is my last conference. And again, like we know that Asia, like we all love this kind of assignments or bring back home. So I want you, like, this is one simple thing that, and I'm not going to check you, but I want you to actually start this discussion if VPP become a global program of future, what potential changes on preparation might be needed to be planned, because you are going to have your replanning process very soon, right? So I hope you first of all check about the global thing that I'm telling you, which is here. So go to this mirror board, and then really put your inputs if you have anything, and also telling us what is your concern. Because if you don't tell us now, like sometimes I'm very far from the MC operation perspective, so maybe we will not able to consider that part, so we are standing from different perspective, and so I really want you to raise up your opinions as well, so we can actually consider it into the planning. Yay! So I think that's the end of our thing, and then that's it, people. Nice. I think I'm finishing on time. Great.
Yay! Thank you, Connie.
Yes.
Yeah, like everyone.
Can we
So I
have a
hope you also
picture
have.
as
Okay.
my last
Yeah, sure. We can do
conference
that.
here with AP? Such a hot news. It's not hot
Do you
news.
want me
Like
to take or you to take?
I wish I can, just start the changes, but I realize it's too much. So a little bit sad, but I believe that you are going to carry it very well. And yeah, okay. 3,
Okay.
2, 1.
Just wait,
Krishna.
guys. Can I change the filter first? Wait a minute.
That's good. Your swag, okay? 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you, people. And Serafina, if you wanna